Hey, this is Sky. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Let's talk about nostalgia. I don't think nostalgia is very healthy. I think it's an interesting complex, like a mental complex. It's focusing too heavily on a time period of the past, and it's typically romanticizing a time that we went through. When you romanticize your past, you're not seeing it clearly for what it was. You're cherry-picking events, cherry-picking emotions, overlaying this Captain Hindsight view of what happened with what actually happened. The more you play that story over in your head, year in and year out, you've twisted it. We all can become nostalgic. Some nostalgia is harmless, and we just kind of remember we have a song or a genre of music that kind of makes us remember our high school days. Nothing really wrong with that. But if that's all you listen to, that's a problem. There's something wrong with you, right? Why are you trying to relive your punk rock days when you were 16 in 1982? Was that really just the best music ever? You're just such an incredible music snob. You're a professor at a music school, and you've identified the golden age of music, and that was it? No. People just get stuck in nostalgia, and they want to kind of recreate an emotional outlook. But very often, what happened in the past is not real. It's a fantasy. We've recreated events and forgotten about what was really going on. I do this. We all do this. I can become nostalgic about a particular time in my past in the early 90s, early to mid 90s, from around 92 to around 96, 97. And I was gangbanging with the Sureños in the Flats barrio, and it was a particularly torturous time of my life mentally. I was strung out on drugs. I was a major alcoholic, so much so to where it was ruining my relationships with family and friends, and I was entrenched in the streets. I was committing major felonies every day, waking up wondering what kind of felonies I can commit today. My life sucked back then. If I could go back to those times, I wouldn't want to relive it. I'd want to redo it. But I find myself in particular times of weakness where I'll wake up and have a bad day. I'll have a couple things happen, and maybe I'll get triggered and be lonely, be sad. Typically, negative emotions will induce nostalgia. It's weird how it works. Because we don't feel fulfilled right now. We're not living in the here and now. When you're really having a great time right now, and you're content, it doesn't have to be overjoyous display of emotion, but it can just be simply a calm contentness with now, with here and now. You're not wondering about the past or thinking or trying to recreate fantasies from the past. It's when your wife breaks up with you and you start remembering that high school girlfriend as if that was so great, forgetting about all the other anxieties and torture that you went through in those days and just somehow remembering a pretty face that said she loved you one time. We can hearken back to all kinds of periods of our lives when maybe we were in better shape. I have a buddy of mine who constantly tries to relive the 70s, as if the 1970s was the best time to be alive. What's so great about the fucking 70s? The fucking drug epidemic nationwide. Heroin was destroying America. Drugs were destroying this country. Free sex and all this kind of outlook from the hippies was creating the AIDS virus and creating herpes and VD and degeneracy. Childhood pregnancy went through the roof. That's where that was created. It was never a problem before in America. We could just go down the line. So what was it so great about the 70s? There's lots of motherfuckers, they think the music was so great. Everything was so great. It's so shitty now, and the 70s was so great. A buddy of mine was just like this. He's about 60 years old. It's not that the 70s were so great. It's that he was in shape back then. He's a big fat slob now. He's a good guy. He's a sweetheart. A great person, very knowledgeable about certain things, but he's overweight massively, doesn't eat well, chases food like vice. He's a trash can, just dumping garbage into him. And he has pictures of himself on the wall from when he was in his youth, when he was a bodybuilder. And it's weird. You see pictures on the wall and you're like, who's that? And some guy in great shape. That's that fat fucking Jabba the Hutt motherfucker. That's what he used to look like. So no wonder. But if he were to be in that shape now, he wouldn't be looking back on those times as something to be romantic about, nostalgic about. Because nostalgia is different than just simply a happy memory. You can say, well, I have happy memories. That's not necessarily nostalgia. Nostalgia is more powerful than a happy memory. It's when a happy memory captures you and makes you feel that that was a better time than now. That would be a preferable time to go to than now. And you can get lost in fantasy. I think nostalgia just comes from this weakness of not being grounded in the present moment, of not living a life of purpose and meaning now, thinking that your purpose and meaning was back then. If you're going through financial problems now, you're going to try to remember a time when your fridge was full and your bank account was stacked, and look at that as the great time. But if you're doing it now, you're not thinking about that one time you made good money 20 years ago, because you're still making good money now. You're not thinking about that piece of ass that you met on vacation that one time 20 years ago at the beach. If you got a fulfilling relationship now, or if you're filled with self-love now, I think it's important to recognize when we become nostalgic and to just simply understand what that is. To allow yourself to be inquisitive in a way where you can enjoy that song. You know, I love the song Kashmir by Led Zeppelin. That brings back memories of my teenage years. I used to drive around DC with this cat Bob. Bob had a green Chevy Nova. We would smash through town, rob drug dealers. We fucking wreaked havoc on that motherfucking city. Me and Bob terrorized DC. And we were always jamming Led Zeppelin because he was a guitar player. We would get so stoned, so wasted out of our gourd, go back to Bob's house, and he would play the guitar just like Jimmy Page, exactly like him, note for note. For some reason, that song Kashmir was always playing on his fucking tape deck. He had a double tape deck in his car. One fit regular tapes, the other one fit 8-track tapes. And he always had a Led Zeppelin tape in there. Used to stash our drugs in the 8-track tape. The 8-track tape has a big slot. Great place to stash a bag of coke or a fucking bag of weed. Cops never find it. The little door flips down. Never find that shit. Never ever. They never think of it. Sit you on the curb and they're fucking searching the whole car and they're never gonna look in there. Those were terrible times of my life. Torturous, awful, 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 degenerate times when I was a horrible loser. And I could go on for the next 20 minutes talking shit about those days as if it was somehow worth remembering. I don't want to go back to hanging out with Bob. Fuck Bob. Fuck DC. I'm staying in the here and now. Because this is where I'm at. This is all that exists. The past is a memory. The future is nothing more than anxiety. Neither exist. The past doesn't exist. It's not tangible. It's a fantasy. You can run that tape however you want. But the more that you sit there and look in the mirror, like walking forward, imagine walking around and you got a mirror in your hand. But you're looking backwards. When you drive your car, your mirror sits right there. You're not looking in the mirror as you're driving your car. You only glance up at it once in a while to just kind of catch what's going on back there, who's coming up on you. But you don't drive in your rearview mirror. That would be dangerous. Stop driving in your rearview mirror. That's what nostalgia is. It's all food for thought. Thanks for watching.